Hi there. Glad you're here with me on this video. Joel Mark Witt, personality hacker. I'm outside my house here in Pennsylvania. Sometimes I like to get outside just during the day. I work from home, obviously here at Personality Hacker, so Tony and I get to go outside if we want in the middle of the day. I'm just kind of taking a break coming out here, and I was thinking a little bit, and I had some thoughts about finding myself. So I decided I was going to kick on the video and share those with you, and then you and I can maybe continue a discussion going forward about this notion of finding yourself. I don't know if you've ever had the experience of finding yourself. And I don't know, like, this always was a weird concept to me when I was a kid, or when I was around, I guess, high school graduation, college age, my late teens, early 20s. I remember a lot of people talk about this idea of, oh, you're a young person, you need to go adventure and go find yourself, basically, out in the greater world. And I was always like, well, I'm already here. I know where I'm at. Like, I don't need to go find myself. I'm right here. I feel like I know myself. I'm right here. I know my talents, my desires, and all that. Barring the whole young person hubris that we all have when we're young, right? Because I had it too. I think I was onto something back then when I was resisting this notion of finding myself. And I want to share this with you and maybe, keep playing with this concept. But here's my initial thoughts. I've really come down on the side of deciding for myself, making a choice of who I am, rather than just wildly, exploring and finding myself, which is weird because in the Myers-Briggs system, I'm an ENFP. And you would think that exploration and just discovery would be my main means for, tapping into who I really want to be and who I am. But the older I get and the more I go through life, I've had this instinct for a while that it's not something I discover who I am. It's not like there's this, in my old religious days, I read this book about finding God's will for your life. And it was this idea that God had this one path for you, who you were going to be with, what career you're going to have, how you're going to serve him, how you're going to show up in life, like all these things that God had planned for you. And your goal was to get into what's called God's perfect will, on this perfect track God had for you. And then the teaching was that God has a permissive will. He's got that perfect person for you, picked out, that he wants you to be in a relationship with, for example. But if you happen to miss the cue, or you don't find that person in the right timing that God had for you, you can go into what's called God's permissive will. So it's something that wasn't exactly ideal for you, but God will still bless it because you're still living right and you're obeying him and all the things you should be doing. Which, all that thinking aside for a moment, this is the stuff that I was wired to be thinking. But as I would go through life, it was very stressful to make sure I was on the right pathway of who I was and how I wanted to show up to the world. It was a constant struggle looking around to my church, to my family, to the people in my life, to friends, to leaders, spiritual leaders, people that were influencing me to, quote unquote, discover myself. And I remember that not going well for me. Now that I've kind of left my religious faith background behind, I have really thought more about the concept of life being a set of choices. And me as a free moral agent, free person on this planet, I can pretty much choose whatever I want to do. Now, every choice has a cost to it, however. So if I choose to murder somebody, there may be a societal cost, there might be a personal ethic or moral cost, obviously there's a cost to the person's life I took and the ecosystem that represents. So every choice has a cost, but I believe we're free to make any choice we want as humans. And, we can basically act in freedom, and, you can make whatever choice you want to make. I can make whatever choice I want to make. So I look at that and I say, okay, I'm a free agent, I can make whatever choice I want, and there's just cost to my choices. Then the question is not who should I be, what is, what I used to think God's will or the right way to live or my purpose in this life. Purpose is kind of something I get to decide for myself. I get to make that up. I get to choose that, and the cost of that purpose is what I have to pay for, or, give a value exchange for, or however you want to look at that. So in this line of thinking, I'm really starting to take account of all the things in my life that I want to construct and decide upon from the ground up. So instead of looking around me to everyone around me to get the cue for what I do, I say, who do I want to be? How do I want to show up? And I'm going to decide myself, not find myself. I'd be curious to get your perspective on this. Has this been something you've thought about, this notion of finding yourself? Maybe you're young, maybe you're still, setting out in the world. Maybe you're still a teenager or a young 20-something, and you're discovering or finding out the things that you're going to want to do in life. And I think there is a discovery process to this. Don't get me wrong. There's things you got to play with and find out things about yourself. I'm not saying don't find out what your interests and talents are, because sometimes we have to experiment with things to know. So if that's what we mean by finding ourselves, I'm on board with that. But if it's who am I at the core of my being, my identity, my sense of self, and what I'm all about on this planet, I think if we go out to find ourselves around those things, we're just leaving ourselves open to a bunch of external influences. People that want us to be a certain way. People that want us to show up in a certain fashion because it makes them feel better. And these people might tell you that you're super selfish to make choices for yourself, to decide your life going forward. They might try to cast blame or shame on you and say that you're not doing the right thing. In their eyes, you should be doing X, Y, Z. And I think you can take that feedback and, take it to heart. But ultimately, it's your life. And this person's not going to be with you when you're on your deathbed, most likely. I mean, maybe they will be if they're like your spouse or somebody. But we come into this life with different people than we're going to leave this life with if we live a long, rich life. You're born around your parents, maybe some siblings. You'll probably not die with the same people that you were born around. You'll probably die with a whole different set of people. So ultimately, you've journeyed through life from the start to the end, usually by yourself. And so you're really the only person that can decide what your life is all about and the purpose that you bring to it and the intention you bring to it. And why does someone else's, this is the question I have for you, if you're looking and other people are saying you got to be this, you got to do this, you got to do this, and you're trying to make sure you're doing the right thing for the group or the family or the friends or whoever's telling you this message, or God even, and you keep thinking, I got to make myself something different so I'm acceptable, I'm okay to this entity, whatever that, or this message, whatever that message is and wherever it's coming from. I think you're just allowing yourself to be influenced by someone else's selfishness. So why is someone else wanting you to be something? They have a selfish desire for you to be something. Why is that more important than who you want to be for yourself? So this is a question to you. And again, I would love to have some conversation around it or some discussion in the comments below this video. I think it'd be an interesting conversation. Get your feedback. Express to me what you're taking away from this video. And I appreciate you kind of hanging out with me here to chat about this. Just an initial thought. I want to start shooting some more videos going forward. And I realized I just need to start doing it. So I got the technical stuff set up. I shot this. And I'm going to go ahead and release it on the YouTube channel and ask for you to engage with it and let me know what's going on for you in your life. All right, I'm going to jet out. Joel Mark Witt, Personality Hacker, just some quick thoughts today. Let me know what you think. I'll talk to you on the next video.